Ahoy friends, welcome to Building the Alpha Dory. I'm Dan, and this is a project to build a Chamberlain style racing dory from John Gardner's The Dory book. Illustrations by Sam Manning. Today we'll be out in the shop doing more work on the rails and hopefully fitting the breast hook as well. Let's get out there and get to it. Alright, so if any of you guys had the chance to watch our previous video, if memory serves, it's going to be called Alpha Dory Smoothing the Rails. So if you've seen that anyhow, you realize the last thing we were doing was measuring and marking for the breast hook. So we're going to be doing that in a minute. But the first thing I'm going to want to do is this bit of planking work is still to be done. I haven't trimmed this off, so let's get this trimmed first thing. And then we'll continue on with our rails. Just so when I'm running around the boat, I don't have to worry about bumping into that little And with that, the planking process on the Alpha Dory is complete. Alright, so let's see what's next. Yeah, so we're good there. Let's go back to cutting this. So here's what we've got roughed out from the chunk of white oak. We want to miss that split when we're putting this thing together. So I got it positioned here, and then I struck a line on the underside. I reach my arm up and trace that line. And then I kind of roughed out what I want for the rest of the breast hook. And then we'll cut one side of this, and then we'll go ahead and flip the scrap over, and trace the other side. And we just want to make sure that this is all gonna fit. Yeah, that looks pretty good. And we'll cut it a little bit large and then clean it up with the plane. But we are trying to get it as close as we can. So what I'll do is I'll take and I'll square this to the stem. more or less. You know, it's not rocket scientist type square. And then I've got the and like I say, we're going to be hand planing this as well. But I've got the approximate bevel that this is going to be landing on the inner rail at. So we'll go over to the bandsaw and use that bevel to cut these, to rough out this breast hook. See how close we came, shall we? Oh well. Maybe a little too close for comfort, honestly. Yeah, so it looks like we're right about there. With the fit. So we're going to be knocking a tiny bit off that front angle. which is good because when we do, we'll just be right in tight. So yeah, we don't want to take much more off the sides. I think we'll have room to clean it up, and we can take, like, you know, a 1/4 inch off the front edge if we need to widen this V out at all, so it sits in there all the way. We are going to have to shorten up the let's see, where's the piece that I cut off? I guess this is it. Yeah, we're going to have to bring this in. Yeah, something like that, because this is over the edge on the other side. So yeah, we couldn't have made it any bigger, so it's not like we wasted anything, but we just... So we'll have to shorten this up like this, and then we'll have to shorten this up something like this. Let's wait on cutting that back edge though until we've got everything fit here. So I'll take this and plane this to fit. Yeah, probably have to bring this over to the bench to get a good angle on it. Pretty close actually. Yeah, but I'll bring this over to the bench so I can really clamp it down. Alright, so it just so happens that I've got the bench cleared off here. I've got my little mini vise. And yeah, it was actually a while ago now that I rigged this thing up to be somewhat portable on this red oak stand or board or whatever you call it. And as it happens, it just kind of fits in here between the studs of the building fairly well, and you can just pin it down through the... I've got a couple holes in the bench here that you can pin it down with so that it won't go anywhere. But it's out of the way for, you know, planking and whatnot. So let me grab the piece of wood we need to work on. Snag a plane. Yeah, I don't know if you can hear the wind roaring out there, but we got some nice weather, and then we got some nasty weather. So it's kind of been, we've kind of been off and on. As far as the weather goes. So this is oak end grain here. I got my low angle block plane out, but it's definitely some tough stuff. Beautiful stuff too. It's almost a waxy finish from the plane. All right, so see how that's fitting. And it's just a process of back and forth to see how much more we need to take off. Yeah, it's actually a really good fit over there. I'm gonna need to take off a lot. Mainly just clean up this mating surface here, and then we'll pretty much be ready to install. So I went over there and marked the spots where it's touching, where so that where it's not touching, I'll take it down where it's touching the side, and then what's left will get closer to the rail. Trying to keep the same angle because the angle's about perfect. Actually got to be careful of the edges of this wood. It's so hard that it's almost sharp. Let's take this over and check the fit again. Alright, so you can see after a couple times on and off the bench, you can see where we're at with the fit. So that's looking good. Same on the other side. Nice tight fit. And you see this sort of scratchy mark here. That's where the edge of the breast hook leaves contact with the rail. So that's as far back as the breast hook will go. We'll cut it off there. So now that I've got this mark and the other side is in contact for a greater length. So this is the short side, and I've got this mark. Now we can find the center of this and trace the final sort of pattern of the piece. Alright, so here we've got the piece that we want to find the center line on, and so the middle of the stem is at this mark, center of the stem, and that should be more or less, yeah, it is right on the 1 inch mark because the stem is 2 inches wide. So we'll put the dividers on the 1 inch mark and swing them out to the sort of that mark that we made. And we'll bring that same distance over to here, this side, so we'll make a mark here. Alright, and then let's find the center of the piece back here. So we got 7.5, which will be 3 for the 7 and 3/4 and 3/4. 3 for the 6, 3.5 for the 7, and then 3/4 for this for the 7.5. Alright, so there's the center line of the piece. And then what I'll do is I'll bring the, see if we can get some light on it here. There we go. So I'll bring the I'll put the rule on the 2 points we swung the arc from. There we go. And just connect the center lines. Okay, so now we've got the scrap that we cut off that has close to what we want to do for the shape. So if we put that there, and this here, we should get a pretty good let's see, that's a cuttable curve. Now the next question is what we may want to do is actually bring it in a little bit, because this is a little bit chunky, a little bit maybe overly bulky, and we still have that check, the crack that we cut out, which ended about here, so it just barely ended off the actually you can see a tiny bit of it right here. So let's think if there's some way that we might be able to, that would be really interesting if we could use this piece of wood in a little bit more elegant manner. So we know this is where the breast hook is going to end. What if we did something like this instead? And that'll be just as strong for nailing into. You're nailing in this direction. You're not losing any material there. You're just lightening up the wood in this area, which really isn't as essential. Also, the other nice thing about this is it would allow a piece of line to run out over the bow, and it'll center the line, as opposed to, you know, if it's running out over this shape, it's going to tend to go off to one side or the other. Yeah, well, let's see how that looks anyway, and then maybe we'll think it through again. Come back to it if we have to. But yeah, this is going to make a nice, super beefy chunk of wood here that's going to be right up in the bow that we're able to fasten into and, yeah, just make good use of.